This chapter is an introduction to military culture. It is essential to anyone working with the military or veteran populations. If you have military service, you won't be too surprised by what you read. That said, there are probably a few things you may not be aware of. I decided to leave out a number of things that are important, but we don't have enough time to cover. This includes a review of each rank structure within each of the services. We will not be reviewing the pay structures either, but we will discuss the distinction between officers and enlisted personnel. Reminder, you're only required to read the specific text, not the extra boxes and side information that are included in the text itself. The most important thing in this chapter is that we're going to actually define what a veteran is. We will also try to see how the military impacts veterans in both positive and negative ways. While there is a lot of talk about the role of the military in things like suicide, PTSD, and aggressive behavior, we will try to contextualize all of this in the theory called life course sociology. The Millennium Cohort Study will provide some actual research findings that I think you will remember as you leave this class. I will briefly review them in this lecture, but your book will provide you with more details. This chapter utilizes life course sociology and does reference it in one way or another throughout the texts. The important thing to remember is that the military is considered part of someone's life, and it impacts its participants just like any other job or life event would. The argument here is that the military, as an institution and coming from a warrior culture, plays a particularly important role in people's lives. If those theories are correct, it changes people in a deeper way than other life events, certainly more than a traditional job. What is really cool about this theory is that it helps to show how people can be more affected by life events than other people. You should ask, for instance, what makes one person return from war with PTSD and not others in the same unit? This theory can explain why. It depends on four key elements. First, historical context. This element of the life course emphasizes how historical events and changes impact individuals' life trajectories. For example, growing up during a war or economic depression can significantly influence one's opportunities and experiences. Timing of life events. The timing of significant events in life, such as getting married, being a parent, or going into retirement, or for that matter, going to war, can affect individuals' development in the life course. Early or late occurrence of these events can lead to different outcomes. If an event disrupts someone's life, for instance, changing the direction of their lives, in a positive or negative way, it will have more impact on them than it would otherwise. A famous example of this comes from Sheldon and Eleanor Gluck. They studied a group of delinquents and non-delinquents who were sent into World War II. They found among the delinquents who went to war and came back, their lives of delinquency went down dramatically after the war than the civilians who were delinquents and did not go to war. So clearly, the going to war changed the trajectory of these delinquent youths. Linked lives. This concept highlights the interdependence of individuals' lives. Relationships with family, friends, and others can influence one's life course. For instance, a parent's job loss can affect a child's educational opportunities. The Gluck study found, for instance, that much of the impact of military service on delinquents' lives occurred through families. That is, these delinquents who went to war, joined the military and went to war, were more likely to have family and children, and as a result, desisted in becoming delinquents afterwards. So it wasn't so much the military service as it was how the military service changed the relationships with other people, in this case, getting married. Human agency. This element of the life course focuses on the choices and actions individuals take within the constraints of their social context. People actively shape their life course through the decisions and actions that they make. Someone can decide to embrace their veteran status, for instance, helping them cope with the issues they're dealing with, while other veterans reject it altogether. Your book reviews the things that the military provides its members. There are things that they bring with them when they leave service. The author divides these things into two categories: work and family-based resources. In terms of work-based resources, the military provides a job and steady income, and the perfect time of life as young people leaving childhood and becoming adults. All new members of the military service generally receive training which includes an introduction to military culture, especially rank and language, and usually some combat training and physical fitness. They then go on to military occupational or MOS training. They also enter a subculture that includes units of other people going through similar training, which is associated with the concept of cohesion and social support, which helps those members manage the stresses of military life. The military also provides tangible supports, including things like allowances for housing, BAH, or allowances for subsistence or food, BAS. But they also provide TRICARE or health care as well. Many service members also start their families while in service. The military is a huge boost to families. Many studies show that the military generally has younger but more stable families than the general public, probably because of the supports they receive while in service. I review these things because of all these factors are unique to the military, and they help to create a cohesive community with both social and tangible supports. Some jobs in the civilian world may have elements of these things, but it is unusual to have all of them together in one place. We will see that all of these things impact veterans in one way or another after leaving service. Veterans may leave the service, but the service life that they had stays with them forever. Attentive students will see that the discussion of the stress process earlier works hand in hand with life course theory. Picture a scenario in which two people return from war in the same unit, hence the same experiences, and one comes back with PTSD and the other one does not. How might knowing something about the life course, and for that matter, the stress process, help us understand this situation? From this perspective, it could be a number of things, but let's consider some examples. One soldier returns to a broken family in a bad neighborhood, while the other one has a stable family with lots of social support, the concepts of social context and linked lives. One soldier is older, and the negative life event impacts him or her and changes their trajectory in some way, maybe making it difficult to start a family or losing a job, the concepts of timing and linked lives. Finally, one soldier actively seeks counseling or has strong education that focuses on resiliency, while the other one does not for whatever reason. Hence the concept of agency. The power of these theories is that you can mix and match concepts and ideas within those theories and elements of those theories to help you explain how people process and live out their lives differently from one another. Finally, we will be defining the idea of veteran. It is a class about veterans, after all. On page 168, it says, quote, a person who served in the active duty military, naval, air, or space service, and who has discharged or released therefrom under conditions other than dishonorable. Wow. Some service members retire, and that is typically after 20 years of service or more. If the service members are injured in service, they may qualify for disability benefits. When you leave active duty, you receive something called a DD-214. It's super important in the military world. It is a form that shows that you served in the conditions of your discharge. You should know that not everyone leaves service with an honorable discharge, saying that they left with acceptable service. And other than honorable discharge suggests that the service member left with a pattern of behavior that, quote, constitute a significant departure from conduct expected of service members, unquote. Dishonorable is set aside for those who have major issues with their service. often involving violations of military rules or conduct. These designations can have huge impacts on a veteran's life course, impacting their ability to find civilian work and their own sense of self-worth. It can also impact whether they receive benefits after they leave service. Finally, there are programs to help soldiers transition out of the service. One is the TAP, or Transition Assistance Program, which helps soldiers become career ready, but there are many others. There are also programs for service members to enter colleges as a way to develop a civilian career. You should watch the interview with Terry St. Peter and his work with the Student Veterans Center at Ohio University. At the beginning, we reviewed the life course paradigm. It has been used to understand the role of military service in hundreds of studies. In short, the military does transform people. In many cases, it does help people in a positive way, helping them economically, socially, and personally. However, the life course is complex. In some cases, the military has a negative impact on people, especially if it exposes them to combat or something like assault or sexual assault. The Millennium Cohort study reviewed in this chapter provides some findings that also show up in other studies, so I'll just review a few things. First, you should know that people in the military are generally healthier than their civilian counterparts, mostly because people with poorer health are not allowed in the service in the first place. That said, there are other important parts of the study you should know. Mental health. Service members are also more likely to drink heavily and smoke compared to civilians. Exposure to combat increases the likeliness of PTSD among veterans, of course. Physical health. Service members are generally healthier than civilians, as I've said. However, exposures to combat increases the risk of obesity and heart disease, among other things. Tinnitus, my ugly friend, and hypertension, not so much for me, are the most common problems among male soldiers and veterans, while depression and migraines are most common among female soldiers and veterans. In summary, this chapter introduces the idea of veterans and provides some ideas about how service life is carried into veterans' lives. In some cases, the military still supports veterans when they leave service through things like fellowship with other service members, but also the skills they learn while in service. But veterans also carry their military experience into their interior lives. In some cases, it is positive, bringing a strong sense of self-esteem from accomplishments, or negative if they have experienced trauma in some way. I would summarize my reading of this research, all the research in this area, by saying the military probably has a net positive impact on most veterans' lives, even if they've experienced some negative events while in service. I can say with 100% certainty that the military will continue to impact these veterans throughout their lives in one way or another.